Recently, I had this experience happen where I got to see a strange sort of victim consciousness play out in real time. It was a strange experience, really strange experience. I had this thing happen in my hair. I had put a treatment on my hair and slept overnight, and it had by morning it was like it was concrete in my hair. I had all these snags in my hair, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to a couple salons here close by, and they just said we have to just cut it off and all this kind of stuff. And so I found this person looking online. I found this person in Florida who kind of a service, because apparently the leading reason that this would happen is because of a depression, like a person, or a depression or an illness, like a person's been a long time in bed and that kind of thing. It wasn't the case for me, but so this is a kind of a service. It's apparently something not a lot of people do. And so I got a hold of this person, and her fees were outrageous. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm too embarrassed to even tell you what they were. They were so high, in the thousands of dollars. Okay, yeah. So, but I didn't know what else I was going to do, and it was getting worse every day. I had to do something quickly, and I tried everything that I could at home. So my husband and I were just like, okay, let's just go. So we went. We'd spend the day together, about a 6-hour day, and she'd work on the hair, and then I'd call my husband, and he'd come pick me up, and he'd pay her for the day every time. I was desperate, and I agreed to pay it. And I agreed to pay it all because I signed it, but but what I thought it was on the surface it was already outrageous what I thought it was, but it was way more outrageous even than that. There were all these hidden fees and different deposits and, stuff. It was going to take, she, stretched it out for 3 days. And, I don't know that it needed to take 3 days, but, that's how long she made it take, was 3 days. And each day started the clock over again. And the first hour was the most expensive hour, and then, went from there. So, it was thousands of dollars each day. It was, and the only thing I could say, I don't normally go to a salon or get any haircuts. I hadn't got haircuts in years. So I just said to my husband, I go, and he doesn't either. So I'm like, can we just amortize it out for like all these years of hair treatments we didn't get? We just like shot the whole wad here and handed it to this lady. And and her promise, what she was supposed to be doing, what she advertised that she would do, is that she could get any kind of, matting or really bad tangles out without losing any of your thickness or your length, and that she would restore your hair back to how it was. Well, that wasn't the case. I mean, I didn't expect that, because I don't know how she could have ever done that, but that isn't what she did. My hair was significantly thinner and shorter after it was done, so, but I didn't call her out on that. I didn't know, I couldn't imagine how she could have kept that promise. I mean, I saw big, huge strands of hair going in the garbage, she's only human. She's not like, she doesn't have magical powers. She was throwing tons of long hair away. But anyway, on the night before the last night, or the last day, I was kind of looking through the bill, and I asked my husband how much we'd paid so far, and I thought, God, that seems really high. And so I added up the prices based on what I heard her say. We had this phone consultation, and on this phone consultation, she told me these certain prices. So based on those prices, I added up, and it seemed like she'd overcharged us, and it was fine, because we had this third day, and I figured, there was room for her to, if she had overcharges, she could make it up with this third day. So we went through the day, and we had a, really good relationship. We had a fun time together. It was, not bad. Watched movies, and, it wasn't like she had to be doing any kind of like precise work. I mean, she was just, combing through this thing and throwing away wads of hair, and, I was grateful because, everyone else was just saying this is to cut it all off, because it was really a problem. after we were done, and how it worked every single time was that I would contact my husband, he would come and he would pay her. So I contacted my husband, we were waiting for him to come, and I said to her, I go, I think maybe you overcharged us. Her demeanor just flipped. I mean, she just completely flip-flopped. And she wasn't wanting to have any kind of discussion about this. So I said, well, here's what you told me on the phone consult. And then I start to see, she starts telling me about all these hidden deposits and all these hidden fees and all these different, and it was just such a scam that she was, that she had just completely pulled on us. But, so I was, kind of telling her that I thought that was awfully, not kind of shady and, that kind of thing. But I never once said I wasn't going to pay. At this point, I'm already into her thousands of dollars. And not to mention travel fees and hotels and, several days away from work and all this kind of stuff. She'd also, in this contract that I had signed, it also said that I would subject myself to being on her social media, that I would allow myself to be on her social media. So, I didn't care. I was telling stories on her social media channels and all this kind of stuff. And, I was being a good sport about all of it. Well, anyway, so it was kind of tense there, and I was waiting for my husband to come. So I went out to go to the bathroom and just kind of get some air, and she followed me. And she had convinced herself that I was running out. I didn't, every single time it was the same exact thing. She would, my husband would come and he would pay her. And so, but she followed me outside. Then she calls the police. She's following me around the building. And allegedly she called the police. I'm not sure she called the police, but allegedly called the police. And I'm thinking, and she's trying to say that she's scared for her safety. Okay, this woman is like at least 6 inches taller than me, 50 pounds heavier than me, 15 years younger than me. It's like, I don't think that, if the police show up here, they're not going to be thinking I'm the one that's the threat. And so, anyhow, and I'm going, besides that, you followed me outside. I'm just trying to get away from you. And so, but, she had just, was losing her mind over nothing. I mean, I don't know what's going on. And I'm just, basically just because I suggested that possibly she had overcharged us. Well, she had in her mind that I wasn't going to pay her. Now, I never said I wasn't going to pay her, but that's what she told herself. So my husband came and paid her, just like every other day. And we were done. I had much shorter, much thinner hair, but at least I didn't have any more of a tangles in it. It was a lot. I mean, like many inches shorter, many inches shorter, and much, much thinner. She tried to snag my purse. I mean, she did all kinds of crazy things, following me around this building and calling the police and telling the police that she was afraid for her safety as she's following me around outside. So it was just a really outrageous, terrible kind of situation. And then what's been going on ever since, taking out her people from her TikTok accounts or whatever, coming over, and she's telling people I didn't pay her. She's made up this whole TikTok thing about how I had ripped her off, and she's just a single mother trying to struggle. And, these people are thinking, A, that I didn't pay her, which I totally did. B, that this is some sort of normal hair price, like it would be in the hundreds maybe, which would still be a high price. But I mean, the amount of money that we paid her, these people can't even possibly fathom. And so I'm getting these messages on all my videos about how I didn't pay this woman, and they don't even know her. They don't even know her. They're not even saying her name, But that's what she did after all of this. After all that, she still doesn't feel like it wasn't enough. I'm feeling like she just had a victim mentality. It was like she had convinced herself that she was victimized, even though she completely wasn't victimized. I think to this day, she believes that she was victimized somehow. I've just been thinking, if someone's that stupid to pay me that much money, I'm just going to go ahead and just bury them in fees and charges. I mean, she had it down to the very last, every single second that I was spending with her. It was, you know, she was paid way more than you would pay for a lawyer or a surgeon or a, you know, a private airplane. I mean, it was kind of crazy. But the truth was, I didn't know what else to do, and I didn't want to cut all of my hair off, and, you know, my husband didn't want me to cut all of my hair off, and I just didn't know what else to do, and no one near me could help me. And so, you know, I'm sure, and also, as I said, time was of the essence. Every day it was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so you know, I had to do something quickly. But as far as, you know, she came off on, you know, as this like, giving person who was doing this service to help people. That is not the case. There, you know, she wasn't giving anything away. That's for damn sure. But basically worked just the way she wanted it to. She, you know, had me there for 3 days, and she made a lot of money, and then she was convinced that somehow she'd been ripped off, and she's sending all these goons after me to write comments about how I didn't pay her. And so anyway, that is got to be a victim mentality. Even when she's winning, she thinks she's losing. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. I'd like to know